What's up everybody, welcome back to another Tech Junkie video. Today I'm going to be restoring the front and back of an iPhone X. This is one of my favorite repairs that I like to do. I like to take a phone that's completely trashed and make it look new again. The first thing we need to do is put it in the laser machine and get that back glass glue obliterated. That's the only word I can use to describe it. It goes through and cuts all the glue away from the frame of the phone to make the glass brittle enough to just pop off. Otherwise, you have to use an excessive amount of heat, in which case you'd want to pull the board and all the internal components. With this laser machine, you don't have to remove any components. You let the laser do the work, and then you pop that brittle glass away. Each pass of this laser takes about 15 minutes. We speed it up here to keep you from being bored while you watch that, but it takes about 15 minutes for each pass. That first pass will obliterate that glue. Once we get all the glass away from the phone, we'll run a second pass, and that second pass will remove the ash, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the next step is to start chipping that back glass away from the frame of the phone. I use this glass break tool to create a starting point. Once you get a place for your blade to slide in, the glass just pops right up, but that glass breaking tool creates a space for you to be able to do that. This glass is extremely brittle. It would not be this easy to remove if you did not have the laser to cut it away. The glass removal time for this process varies depending on the amount of damage to the back of the phone. I've been able to clear the back glass from one of these phones in as little as 10 minutes. I've had it take as many as 3 hours. The newer iPhones, starting with the 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max and the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, those are harder. That frosting that they put in the glass makes the laser less effective. You can still get it done relatively easy, but it's not nearly as easy as these older models. But yeah, you want to make sure that you use a mask. I use a KN95 mask. The smell is not very appealing, so you definitely want to wear a mask. I also use safety glasses because you don't want a glass shard to pop up from the phone and hit you in the eyes. So safety glasses and a mask are two things that I like to use. Now that the back glass is cut away from the phone, we can start doing the screen repair. You want to do the screen repair after you remove the back glass because you don't want a brand new screen getting grinded around on top of the desk with a bunch of broken glass. So I remove the broken glass first, and then I remove the screen and do the screen repair. Once the screen repair is done, we can move on to putting our new back glass on. But first, let's get this screen repair done. Now, I like to get these screens off as easy as possible without damaging the screen if it doesn't already have damage to the OLED panel, simply because recycling these screens means more money. You can get anywhere from $35 to $40 for a broken LCD that doesn't have OLED damage to it, as long as it's just glass. There are repair shops that buy broken screens as long as there's no OLED damage, because they can remove that glass and put a new glass on and reuse the screen. I don't do that process here. It's very time consuming and difficult, but we do sell these screens to other shops. The only thing that needs to be transferred from the iPhone X and up models is the microphone, the ear speaker, and the Face ID assembly. It's all one piece. Used to be you would have to transfer other components, but this is the only component that you now have to transfer when it comes to doing one of these newer iPhone screen repairs. So this process is actually a lot easier than it used to be on some of the older models. You can do an iPhone X screen repair in as little as 6-7 minutes now. This little gold metal piece, I'm not sure its function, but you do want to make sure you transfer that when you're doing this repair. I don't know if it would cause anything not to work properly if you don't, but I always make sure I transfer that component. And before we put the screen back on, I like to get any dust and any leftover residues removed from the frame before I put the new screen on. I always use an alcohol wipe and wipe the battery down and all the other components. And then it's just a matter of reattaching all of your connectors here, your LCD connectors and your Face ID assembly sensor. They all go right here connected on your board, and then you replace the 5 tri-wing screws and close everything back up. Then we can move on to the next step. Close your phone back up just like a book, and then check your screen to make sure that everything's functioning properly. I like to check the cameras, I like to check the Face ID sensor, make sure all touch functions working, make sure the speakers are working, and then you're done. You put your pentalobe screws back in the bottom and move on to the next step. In this case, if you were only doing screen repair, you'd be finished, but we still have to put the back glass back in place. Here we are running our checks on the cameras, Face ID, that kind of stuff. Make sure all your touch functions working. You don't want to give the customer a screen back that has dead spots or is ghosting. Ghosting refers to a touch function that's not actually being touched. The screen will jump around and do things on its own. This is one of the most satisfying parts for me. I use black cold press glue. That way if any seeps out through the frame and the glass, it's easier to clean it away without seeing it as much. If you use something like B7000, which will work, it's much more noticeable because it's clear to begin with and then it turns white. You definitely can see that around your borders. This black cold press glue with this glue gun and this fine tip, it allows you to be more accurate with your glue distribution. Since I switched to cold press glue, I hardly ever see any seepage between the frame and the glass. It creates a more effective border between the two components without anything seeping out to the outside of the phone. You can be generous with your distribution. You don't have to worry about using too much. Just keep it away from your components. Try to keep it away from the borders as much as possible. You don't want to get any glue down in your wireless charging coil or any of the other components that are open in the back of the phone. And here we just press the back glass to the frame, make sure that everything is nice and smooth and even, there are no gaps, and that nothing is seeping out. I use rubber bands to hold the glue in place, or to hold the back glass in place. I usually let this process sit for about an hour to let the glue dry. You can also use clamps, but in my opinion, clamps put too much pressure, and I don't want to risk breaking one of these screens. You do want to let your glue settle for about an hour before you pull your rubber bands off. That gives it plenty of time to dry. If you take it off too soon, you risk the glue slipping and sliding, and then your glass is crooked. It may come all the way off, or it could leave a nasty mess of glue between your frame and your glass. Give it a solid hour. Don't rush it. When it's ready, it's ready. Then you can remove your bands, check your glass to make sure it's not slipping and sliding, and peel your plastics off, and you're done. And that's what it takes to repair an iPhone X front and back. The whole process, start to finish, can take as much as 2 hours. It probably can be done faster, but an hour of that is waiting for the glue to cure. Like I said, you can do it quicker, but you don't want to risk rushing it. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.